Hi, this video is to talk about test of significance using Excel and raw data. I'm gonna go over the same problem we have about the Armand's Pizza Parlor problem. So let's go back to the data. Imagine you have the data, like here, you have the raw data in Excel, and you want to test the significance of the relationship between population and sales. Remember, if you're testing if you have a test of significance, we have two hypotheses, B1 equal to 0, and the alternative hypothesis is that B1 is different than 0. Let's say, I don't know how to say different, let's say not equal, different than 0, okay? So this is the test of significance, and you can do that in Excel using the data analysis tool. Let's go over the data analysis tool, regression, and then you can get the sales here, our dependent variable that depends on the student population. And then we click OK, and then here are the results. Let's focus our attention on B1 because we're testing B1. B1 in this case is this coefficient 5, okay? And then we have a test statistic. This is T statistic with a p-value is given for us, okay? So the T statistic is 8.61. That's the value that we're looking for. We want to focus on the T statistic and the p-value. Here the p-value is in a scientific format, so we can change this format to a number and reduce the number of decimal places or increase the number of decimal places in this case. And you can see that the probability value is really small. How small? Well, our threshold value to reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis is the alpha level. Let's put the threshold value to determine if we reject the null hypothesis is the alpha level, also known as ACA level of significance. Okay, so if alpha is 0.05, then we reject the null hypothesis because, remember the rule is because the p-value of 0.000 is smaller than the alpha level. This is the rule. The rule is if the p-value is smaller than the alpha level, we reject the null hypothesis. So this is the rule. It's the same rule we had before. So very easy. You get the raw data, you run the data analysis tool, you look for the information here, look at the T statistic, the p-value, and using the alpha level, you make a decision of reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. In this case, we reject the null and use this one. So there B1 is different than 0. This means, let's put here so you can also have, this means that there is a relationship between student population and sales. Okay, that's it. It's over. I just want to clarify that this T statistic is different than the T statistic I computed in the previous videos because I assumed erroneously that the sample size was 11 and the sample size is 10. If you use a sample size of 11 here, you would get the same results I showed you before. That's the difference between the computation of this T statistic and the T statistic I computed by hand is because I use a different sample size. I used 11 and this one is using 10.